So I'm going to talk about this Super Orbitron emulator, but I should definitely talk about what Super Orbitron is without emulation. So Super Orbitron is a physical hardware game that you connect with your phone. I'm working on it right with Mana, and Mana's got Super Orbitron displayed in their background. I almost, Angelo, want you to focus on Mana while I talk, so
There you
people can
go.
just like look at that until I start streaming. Um, so Super Orbitron, just because I have some of the people that I came up with this idea with around, it was on my couch talking to a couple of devs. Got Mason who presented and Graham who I saw on the Twitch stream earlier. I had an art project that was kind of like this above my couch, and we were talking about one-dimensional games, which we brought up Line Wobbler, which is a game with an LED strip, and like, oh, LED strip game. We're sitting on an LED strip. What if we could play a game on that thing? And started working on it. Then the pandemic happened, and like, okay, physical game, not so much. And picked it back up once in-person stuff started happening, and it's kind of just it's been too fun to stop. So before really describing what the game is like, I'll go switch to the emulator because it's really a thing that's better to experience. Um, so I'll share the screen.
Right. Focusing you.
All right, and then also get some music. So Mana's been the one that's done all the music. So we've been vaguely thinking about how this will make might be good as like a platform, not just a thing that we make our own games. So it is a physical thing where you play multiple games. We recently switched it so that what you do is you play a game. When that ends, you play a new game. You just kind of like Mario Party style, keep playing a bunch of different mini games. And yeah, so Mana had been wanting to do an emulator, and so what, like a week and a half ago, something like that, started working on it, and then we got this spiffy website to start playing. Mana, did you just join?
Huh? No.
Someone.
So yeah, I started working on the emulator after we did a demo at Noisebridge of the physical, and someone was talking about being interested in making games for it. And we had brought up the idea some time ago when I started working on it to make an emulator just for development purposes because, you know, having the actual hardware be the development device sometimes slowed things down. You had to reboot it, so on and so forth. So I wanted to make an emulator just for dev purposes, but it kind of got kickstarted by somebody showing interest in actually making games for it. And it's like, well, we're definitely not going to manufacture more of these because we only have two. I have one, and Adrian has one. And
and mine's broken right now.
Yeah, so like the manufacturing process is not fast, and there's still some kinks to work out in the hardware setup.
By the way, I posted links in Discord and Twitch. You can actually just join, like see exactly what's going on, and join in. Up to 6 people at least. And
Yeah.
for those that haven't noticed, what's on my stream and what's showing in Mana's background is literally the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're both connected to the same server.
Yeah. So for a long time that wasn't the case, and it was just you had to connect to the Wi-Fi that this device is creating and scan this QR code on here to then go to the local IP address of this server running on the Raspberry Pi. And that's always been a lot of friction. So we've wanted to reduce the friction, and we've tried our best we tried a lot of different ways to do that, honestly. And none of them were really that great. Literally the best so far had been join the Wi-Fi, scan this QR code. Everything else we tried had various other issues that just prevented it from working altogether, or the friction was the same or worse. So now that we have this emulator set up, and we've shown that it works well and the latency isn't bad, I actually just basically ported the emulator code to the hardware here and just have it get the pixel data from the server and display it on the strip. So with that, we could reduce this to just one QR code, and you can scan it, and you don't have to be on any Wi-Fi or anything, and it will just take you right to the game. So we're hoping that this really works well. We still need to actually test it on the hardware in a random location that may or may not have good internet. So we're still seeing how that'll work out. But that's the idea right now, is that we're going to basically use the work we've done for the emulator to simplify this hardware into basically just being a display and audio device and not actually running the game, the hardware or the logic itself.
Yeah, and of course, like the original impetus of having other devs be able to make games, because you won't need the hardware to be able to develop.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's really great because now Adrian and I can develop at the same time and playtest games remotely, whereas we couldn't do that before. So it really adds a lot to the whole the whole flow. And Jed, yes, we did add the camera follow. So if you click one of the colored circles in the bottom, you'll follow that color on the orb.
And the hot off the presses thing I did today was add this iframe controller. So it's not quite the ideal way to control it, but you can get it all in one window, and that will automatically follow whatever you join as.
Yeah, the best way to experience it is with the phone and the actual hardware. But you can do phone in the emulator, and that's really nice too. So yeah. And right now we have, I think, 4 games, maybe 5. I can't remember exactly.
We have 4.
4, yeah. And we cycle through them in like Mario Party fashion. So I'm playing on this. I'm going to play on this right now because I don't have the emulator up on my screen.
Wait, who are the other 2 people I'm playing against right now?
I'm orange.
Okay, probably Jed is blue, my guess.
I can't get out of the South Pole.
Oh, Mason's blue.
So this game is Snake Tron. If you can't tell, it's basically a combination of Snake and Tron, where you try to eat as many of these little white dot apples as you can and avoid running into yourself or others. Whoever got the longest snake, the record longest snake, wins this one.
But you can kind of see the state of that in the little controller. Oh no.
Oh, we have documentation. You want to check it out? Yeah. So the engine code and the server code and everything is all pretty custom. We're using Vue for the HTML stuff, but the Python is the engine code, and it has a Node server, and those are custom.
But like documentation, like, since we're thinking about having other devs develop, like that is one of the things that I'll probably tackle in the next couple of weeks is getting some documentation together to help people understand. Probably initially going to like mostly just do a quick pass and share source code with like 1 or 2 devs, and then like ask them what they needed or what they didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, to answer your question, Gwen, so all the music I made using a tracker software, it's just playing WAV files or OGG files, rather. And I created a mixer system that handles all switching, fading, crossfading, and things like that. But yeah, I made all the music in Milky Tracker, which is like based off of a tracker made in the 90s. Like the Amiga tracker, I think it is. Yeah. Now we're playing Bomberman.
yeah, so after Snectron was done, we started a random game, which happens to be Bomberman this time.
Are there any particular games or types of games you're hoping third-party devs will add to Orbitron's catalog? I mean, we don't have any
Just
particular.
diversity. Really.
Yeah, like nothing specific in mind. It's more just like,
Like I think it's specific in that there's a lot of constraints.
yeah,
So, and we've been kind of adding some constraints where it's like, well, the only colors you really get are you have there's 6 player colors that are kind of fixed, and then there's 2 colors that you can get to play with and like have any sort of meaning. Other than that, you can use like light patterns or like it's a really interesting design problem to figure out how to convey meaning with such a limited like pixel density. You basically get like color and light pattern, and like not a whole lot else.
yeah. Some
Kind of the combination of the two.
one by one sprites. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Some game ideas that we've been floating around are like a Dominion type game or something where you have to occupy area on the orb. Or think of some kind of like Fall Guys-esque thing where you're dodging obstacles. I don't know. There's a lot of different stuff that we want to try to do. Maze race, yeah, that'd be interesting,
Yeah, that
Jed.
was good.
Yeah, I mean, because of the constraints, I feel like the constraints allow you to really be more creative. Because sometimes having unlimited, no constraints, you just don't know what to come up with. So I feel like the constraints are nice in that sense.
Yeah, we'll redo Overwatch on the sphere.
Yeah. Like it better for toys rather than games. Yeah, that's fair.
It actually like the whole idle animation thing. Since you mentioned our projects, Gwen, like that's was interesting. Like, and this all started as a pure art project, not an interactable thing. But I do like the kind of in between state that it can get. Yeah, like you said, Jed.
Yeah, it is fun. Like, yeah, Adrian did the really cool idle animation, and I messed around and made the like victory animation thing. It's a lot of fun to do that kind of stuff on it for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're waiting on yellow to ready up. Whoever's yellow.
Actually, think does it have a mic so it can react to music or voices? No. The only input right now is through the internet via phone. Did kind of think about having maybe like a motion sensor for the real thing to kind of like react when someone gets close by, but that's kind of a pipe dream for now.
Oh, I'm over here. Yeah, I mean, one thing that's obviously missing in the emulated version is the physical interaction of the players and getting around each other and maybe bumping into each other here and there.
Yeah, which is definitely one of the appeals of making the physical version in the first place. Like that's kind of a design principle I've had the whole time.
Well, I like that there is an emulation so that there is much less of a hurdle for going around physically.
Yeah, it definitely has its advantages.
Yeah, and there's like room for both, which I hadn't fully appreciated until we actually had an emulator.
I'm just hiding on my one side that I can see because I can't move around.
Oh no.
I just hit myself.
Oh, that was.
Does that camera constraint make playing in person very different from playing on the emulator? Like, you have to run around the
Yeah.
objects to see.
So what I think in particular, when you get close to the North Pole and you're changing your longitude very quickly, you can lose orientation of like what's up and left, right. But like this, it like because it's tracking pretty closely, that doesn't happen nearly as quickly. But like, and the other thing is like, especially for someone tall like me, I like to get to the South Pole, I have to crouch, and that's really fun.
That's interesting.
Um, See, a rhythm game. Yeah, rhythm. That's interesting. I haven't thought about a rhythm game.
Yeah, a rhythm
Um,
game would be good.
I gotta admit, I'm loving your soundtrack just because it's bringing back that old SNES vibe back in the days of Pilot Wings and F-Zero and the like.
Thanks. Yeah, I made all the samples myself using. I have a keyboard from the '90s, so it has a bunch of different samples on it that I get, and I also have a Volca FM synthesizer, which is where I get a lot of the bass and synth sounds that have the Genesis sound. So it's like a mix of Genesis, SNES, and like more modern jazz sounds. Um, I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
that Genesis sound always brings me back. I've
Yeah.
said that before.
Yeah, I always
I
love.
absolutely love that. I'm so happy that you put together your soundtrack on this. That is such a nice touch.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you're working on some like idle sound that's like a little more ambient, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna work on an idle thing. I actually already started a little bit, and obviously I want to make more tracks. There's two in-game tracks, a victory song, and a waiting song right now, and there'll be more. I'd want to have like a variety of stuff available so people can pick a song to put on their game. So yeah, we'll see. I love writing music in this style, so um, I'm always happy
It's
that.
actually like one of the things that first got you in on that project was like in person you were helping troubleshoot some technical thing, and
Oh yeah,
then I offered to work on the music, and like that just kind of like expanded from there.
yeah, that's right. It was like the first flight test that I was at. There was something wrong with the networking, and I tried to
Yeah, it was
jump in.
like the very first playtest I brought the physical orb to, like post pandemic, nothing worked, which was fun. It's like basically it only worked on iPhone, so I was the only one that could connect.
Yeah, I was like Android, not liking the fact that the network didn't have internet, and there's so many hurdles with like getting this to work um, yeah, correctly in hardware alone. Like you'd think that the technology would be there to enable this, but it really isn't.
And yeah, someday we'll get that giant one that you can just walk in.
Yeah,
Once
Do
I
you,
get this money from the MoMA to install a giant one, we'll make it happen.
that sounds like you could actually do that. Have you thought of going to
I,
like scale, like turning it into a product?
yeah, we thought about it. So the main things we're thinking of is like getting arcades interested.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I feel like we're really trying to like get it to a state where it's reliable. Like all the technology is like kind of unambiguous what we want, and it's reliable, and we can park it somewhere and trust that it will work. It hasn't been quite that robust, but I think we want to like start talking with people, just send some feelers out. We've talked about some other business models that are maybe a little harder to do, like renting it out for like an evening, or maybe talking to like all the like corporations around here, see if they like want it installed in a game room or a lobby or something like that.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of interesting options, but kind of need to nail the design first, and it's not quite there.
yeah,
Also, like museum type stuff is on the table too.
yeah, for sure. Definitely been thinking about interactive art installation type things. I mean, it seems like one of the best ways to have people experience it is um, like events or conventions that this would fit in. Okay, we taking it to California Extreme now. So yeah, we want to get it as robust as possible before really approaching an arcade or something. Pop-up museums.
Win a game with those lobbies, or we're trying to operate the elevator. That would be hilarious friction to add to an elevator.
To get to a secret floor.
But yeah, like a speakeasy or something.
Yeah.
You can rent an old newspaper kiosk in SF. That's an interesting idea.
Oh yeah, I've seen those actually. So that's another thing too. Is actually on Fisherman's Wharf. There's these designated areas that you can busk on, right? And I've performed music in those spots, and it's first come first serve. Some of them are reservation based, but we could literally just set it up there as well as a. That kind of reminded me of that.
I love that idea.
And Mason, you asked if you can do a PR for new input method. I was actually just talking with Mana about input and like trying to improve game feel and maybe having some more radically different input. So right now it's just 2-axis movement and tap. Like it's kind of the limited palette. And honestly, only one of the games uses tap. We've talked about some of the other games maybe using tap to do some interesting stuff, but like so far it's just Bomberman. But I feel like there's some other movement paradigms that would work that we haven't thought of. Like especially if you are guaranteed to have a phone, like maybe even using the accelerometer somehow.
Yeah, there's definitely a benefit to using the phone, as most people have one that works with it, and that eliminates the need to have hardware controllers that can be broken or stolen or otherwise damaged and whatnot.
Yeah, because like you can't tether them because you're spinning around and like they'll get wound up. And if they're not tethered, then people can walk away with them, even if they don't have ill intent.
Yeah.
I seriously thought about using Switch Joy-Cons connected with Bluetooth initially, but I stopped thinking about that pretty fast though.